This is wonderful and makes incredible sandwiches. So here's our perfect sausage roll. Remember, it's the light version. We're minus 1 pound of bacon. And I'm going to stick that into a hot oven. We can either put it in an oven, we can put it on a grill, we can put it in a smoker. It can be cooked a number of different ways. It's good served hot, it's good served cold. Back to our onion sauce. You know, I can remember just about every Saturday going down to Knopf's in Hoboken, and I'd probably eat about 5, 6 hot dogs every trip. And his condiments were so good, I'd get them with everything on them. You know, I wanted chili, I wanted onion, I wanted sauerkraut, I wanted raw onion. So I'd eat one like that, because I had to first get everything. Then, afterwards, I'd start eating them one by one with the individual condiments. I'd get one with chili, one with onions, one with sauerkraut. I think I know every good hot dog place in the state. Growing up in Jersey City, we had a multitude of good hot dog wagons and hot dog stands. And Bayonne as well. There was a great place in Bayonne called Pedritas. One of my all-time favorites in Jersey City is on Journal Square called Boulevard Drink. And actually, I've written a blog, and one of the blogs I've addressed hot dogs in that and talked about different hot dog places. I put a picture of Boulevard Drink up there, and I'm really glad I did, because I was in Jersey City a couple of weeks ago and went to Boulevard Drink, and sure enough, it had changed. Still the same place, same food, but they put a brand new sign up, which really, to me, takes away from what I remember it as. So I can tell you anywhere you want to get good hot dogs, places that are gone now, places that have survived. So now my meat is all cooked thoroughly with the onions and the garlic. Here's one of the tricks. A long time ago, I went down to San Antonio, Texas, and I was having lunch with a guy, and he took me to a restaurant to have chili. I asked him some questions about the restaurant. It was a little bit of a sketchy place. It was like going into the worst neighborhood you could possibly imagine. And it was a scene right out of movie Blues Brothers, where Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi go into this restaurant owned by Aretha Franklin, and guys behind the counter have long hair, but in hair nets, and you know, it's kind of a tough area. And I said to my friend, do they put beans in their chili? Well, the whole restaurant went silent. You know, there were some old guys in the back playing checkers. It was really a comical movie scene. And he turned around to me, and with a very stern voice pointing his finger, he said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "People who put whole beans in their chili don't know beans about chili, and we don't do it here." It's like, okay, no problem. So what I found out was, to get some of that bean flavor in the chili, you either use a bean flour and thinner tomato product, so the bean flour acts as a coagulant, you don't want it too thick, or you put some refried beans in. So that's what I learned to do. Gives that nice bean flavor, and no whole beans floating around. So God forbid he ever comes back to my house and I make chili, I won't get shot for having beans in my chili. So anytime I ever go someplace and I see beans in the chili, I always lean over and say to my kids, and I just start saying, people who, and they finish the sentence, put beans in their chili, Dad, don't know beans about chili. So my trick is to put a little bit of refried beans in with this, just to get the flavor. Now there'll be no whole beans floating around, and I can avoid the criticism from my friend from Texas. Now I'm going to put some chili powder in with this. I'm using just the standard chili powder. You can blend up your own with all kinds of seasons, the predominant one being cumin. And I'm going to put some basic tomato puree. And we're going to get that simmering. And now for my onions, they've all gotten nice and tender. And you see I'm cooking them, but I'm not letting them color at all. I want them to cook down slowly and get tender. And here's Knopf's main ingredient aside from the onion. It's a little bit of tomato paste. We put some tomato paste. We put a little bit of water. A little bit more. So these onions are finished cooking in a little tomatoey broth. He doesn't really put any other items in here except for some fresh ground pepper. And he told me never be stingy with the pepper. He was the nicest man. He never got aggravated. He'd have, lines of people and, traffic and horns blowing. You're in center of Hoboken, so there's a lot going on. And he was just happy doing what he did. And eventually, Knopf passed away, so I put salt and pepper in there. And it used to be his father's stand before his. And his son took over, and then his son would only be there Thursday afternoons and Saturdays. And I would try and get back, once every other week to go there because I just loved Knopf's hot dogs. I'm just going to add a little bit more of this tomato paste, and I'll keep it handy in case I need to add a little bit more. But I would go down, and, it would be like old home day, and people would be around, and we'd be eulogizing good old Knopf with his son. And one day, we were talking, and I said something to him, a line, I don't even know if I can remember it now, out of the Wizard of Oz, at the end of the Wizard of Oz, when the Tin Man gets his heart, and the wizard explains to him that a heart is not measured by how much you love, but by how much you're loved. And I remember saying that to Knopf's son and saying that I think about his father when I hear that phrase. And he looked up at me, and, I could see he was a little bit misty almost. And he said, I can't believe you said that. He said, when someone spoke at his funeral, they said those exact words. So you see, Knopf was probably loved by many, and here he was, just selling simple hot dogs, but entertaining, being a gentleman, and being a wonderful man. He made a mark, he left his message with a lot of people, and I guess everybody was thinking the same thing. So every time I make my onion sauce, I think about good old Knopf and his hot dogs, and just have a great time. So see, this is cooking up nice, and it has that red tint to it. And it's going to be just a delicious sauce. Don't be afraid to put the salt in it. He would always tell me, onions are really sweet. People think onions are strong, but they're also very, very sweet. They have very high sugar content. And so therefore, you need to offset that by a fair amount of salt to bring the flavors really to the surface. So I'm just going to let that simmer now. And I've got my chili going here. That's at a simmer. And I think we should take a look at our sausage dish, because that sausage dish is something you don't want to forget about. You can slice that up and do all kinds of wonderful things with it. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's coming along nicely. I'm just going to move it up to here and kick this heat up a hair.